All righty. Welcome to the Heat Happenings PSA workshop for the Fairchild Challenge. Really quick, I'm going to be monitoring the chat, but uh, if you guys have any questions, you can always unmute yourselves. I already had a question about access to the recording. That's going to be on our website on this challenge's webpage. Okay, so it's going to be like a link that goes to it. All right. Another thing too, really quickly, so let's just make sure that we treat everybody with respect. I hold all the power of who is going to be watching this workshop. So that just means, please be respectful of everybody else. Please don't interrupt anybody and use respectful behavior throughout this, all right? Otherwise, I may have to boot you out, okay? Oh, I see a raised hand. Go ahead. Would you like to unmute yourself if you have a question? We've got a lot to take care of. Can everybody else hear me? Raise your hand if you can hear me or give me a thumbs up. Cool. Okay. All right. I've got a bunch of people. Awesome. You guys are great. Okay. We're gonna go ahead and get started. Alrighty. So, you guys are probably middle school students or your fabulous middle school student teachers. But you guys are here because you are participating in the Fairchild Challenge, okay? And that's a special STEM competition that is run every single year. And we basically have something that you guys need to do to compete in a challenge. So this challenge specifically is our first middle school challenge called the Heat Happenings PSA. And this is what we're asking you to do. And this whole workshop is going to be about how to create a PSA or a public service announcement. I'm going to give you lots of tools and a checklist on what to do and what we're looking for. All right. But I want you guys to be really creative. There's going to be some spots too that we're going to stop at for you guys to brainstorm. And I'll put up a little timer there to give you guys about 30 seconds to brainstorm each time, okay? But first off, as you guys can probably see right here, this is what we're asking for. We know that our communities are getting hotter. Climate change is a big deal, especially in Miami, because we are already a really hot place. And so we want your feedback. We want to know what this heat is like in your community and how it's affecting you. And these are the things that we ask for in this challenge, okay? Another thing that we want to add to this, is this is not just a video about heat. It's what you want to think about what audience you want to reach to, because videos can be like TikTok videos, where it can be for your friends or it can be like older millennials, that kind of thing. Maybe it's a government video for a public audience. This video that we're asking for you, we just want you to think about that, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. And at the very end of the video, or sometime kind of in between, we want you to think about one action or some sort of activity that supports action towards mitigating impacts related to heat. Okay. So I see I've got a couple of hands going up. We'll take some questions whenever we do brainstorming breaks, okay? Because we have a few things to talk about. And then I'll also take some questions at the very end of this, okay? All righty. Next slide. Here are the specifics of what we're asking about. So I kind of just talked about what this video is going to be for the Fairchild Challenge, but we have a few kind of guidelines. This is your sandbox to play in. We need a 45-second to 1-minute video, which is about the right amount that typical PSAs are, that have real examples about your life, about your community, and how it's impacting you. And we also want you to describe that one action that I was talking about that could help with rising temperatures. This video can be live action, it could be animated, you guys could have graphics or whatever you want, up to you. You could have someone speaking during the video, or you don't have to. It's up to you. And we'll look at some examples to get your mind going, okay? And I added this little reminder here about remembering who your audience is. Like these are kind of examples of what two different audiences could be. Do you want your grandparents or older people to understand what you're saying? Do you want this to just be for your friends? Do you want it to be for both of them? Because, you're going to speak differently to someone who's older versus your buddies. All right, let's get down to the nuts and bolts of it, guys. So, what is a PSA? Anybody seen a PSA? Raise your hand if you know or kind of have seen a PSA before. Cool. All right, we've got a few. Awesome. So think about that. Those videos are communicating something, whether it's an issue or maybe it's something that, like right now, where we have a hurricane that's about to hit the coast of Florida. And before, a lot of governments in Florida have prepared PSAs about hurricane preparation, So this is talking about some sort of issue or problem or something affecting the people around you. Okay, and what they can do about it. All right. Okay, so brainstorm break. We're gonna do quick 30 seconds. All right, and I want you guys to kind of just come up with a few ideas of what you would write a PSA about. Okay. All right. At the very end of this, if you want, we can share this out. You can type it in the chat. Okay. But just think about for the next 30 seconds, what would a PSA look like to you if you could create one outside of all of this? All righty. Any takers? Any ideas on what a PSA you may write about? It could be about heat, or it could be something different, a problem that means something to you. If you have any ideas, just pop it into the chat. That way other students can kind of see your ideas so that we can go from here. The workshops are supposed to be collaborative. That means we want to work together. We want to share ideas. There's a reason why we're all together at the same time, okay? So that's why we're going to be doing some brainstorm breaks throughout this. All right, this is a really cool PSA that I found that was done by a student just like you guys here in Palm Beach, actually. And they won an award in 2020, as you can see. And this PSA is about plastic pollution. So I want you guys to kind of watch this, but do it with some critical thinking, like critical thinking hat on, okay? Because what we're going to do afterwards is we're going to kind of talk about what strengths and weaknesses are. And also check out in the chat, we've got a few ideas for PSAs. Good job, guys.
There's no sound.
Oh, there's no sound? Hmm. Is everybody experiencing that sound issues?
Yes.
Yes. Oh, man. Okay. Here, I'm going to copy this link for you guys and pop it in the chat here. Right, that way everybody, if you guys want, you can go check this out. Doop, doop, doop. Sorry, I tested out the audio before, so I'm not sure why, but you should be able to get the link. It's just a YouTube video. It's about a minute long. If you guys want, you can take a second to watch it. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and play it again, even though we can't hear the audio on your end. That way we can just kind of visually see it for those who may not be able to look at the YouTube video. All right, and then we'll discuss. And I'll go ahead and also see if I can put on some of these closed captions, which may help. All right, so hopefully some of you were able to watch that either here or in a separate tab. That's okay. I want to take another 30 seconds really quick to think about some strengths and weaknesses, things that you liked and disliked, okay? And then just pop them in the chat. That way we can talk about it. And then I'll kind of talk about what I think was some strengths and weaknesses for this. All right? Cool. All right. So what are we thinking? I'm gonna go really quick to the chat over here. Let's start by some strengths and weaknesses. We've got a strength, it has a lot of voice. He speaks directly to the audience and he's engaging. I totally agree with that. I thought he was like really funny, which is conversational. It's engaging. You know, it's not just like someone speaking to you in one tone and it's really, really boring, right? And it seemed like he wasn't reading from a script, but the cool thing too is that he probably was reading from a script-ish, you know? He may have been riffing off of it a little bit, but scripts are really important whenever you're trying to figure out how to convey something. Somebody also said he explained the problem. Absolutely. Yeah, here are some things that I thought were some strengths. I thought he used some really cool visuals too. You know, like he was kind of jumping around. He has this red suit on. He had a really clear message. There was some cool music going on. Yeah, the editing was really fancy. And we'll kind of talk about editing too. Using some comedy. That's great, guys. Yeah, he also had some statistics. I mean, some facts, some numbers about why this problem is such a big problem, that there's going to be more plastic than fish in the ocean. We understand that, you know? And he also had a call to action. That basically means that he gave us some ideas of what we can do about it, right? Oh, good, guys. All right, let's talk about some dislikes, okay? What are some weaknesses that we saw in here? Pop them in the chat. I actually, whenever I was going through this video in particular, kind of struggled a little bit because I just really enjoyed his video. But I think there are some things that he could have done a little bit better. There were a couple of times where he didn't speak very clearly. And, you know, whenever you're conveying a message, it's really important for people to have that clarity in the message, right? So just think about that. You want to be conversational, but you want to make sure that what you're saying is understandable. And sometimes, you know, music can get in the way or like moving can get in the way. I don't like the part where he hits the neighbor's cup. I know. I totally get that too. Yeah, I thought, you know, he had these things that you could do, and then that one just wasn't super helpful. It was definitely funny. Yeah, but you know, you could do a little bit better. Awesome. Thanks, guys. All right. So let's talk about this process of how do we make a PSA. Okay, so I broke it down into kind of six, not three. I need to count better. Six different stages. Okay, picking a topic, looking at other PSAs, doing your research, storyboarding, filming and editing, and sharing. And we're going to go through each of these and how to do that. All right. We're going to start off by looking at the first stage, which is pick a topic. Okay. So whenever you have a PSA, typically you're either told like, hey, we have this problem. We really need to communicate the public about it. And that's kind of what we've done for you guys is for this challenge, we want you to highlight the issue of rising temperatures for you and those in your community. Okay. So we want to know, what does that mean to you? Because heat can be really kind of like whenever you think about it, a hard thing to pin down. Let's take 30 seconds really quick to talk about what does this mean for you and your community. Okay, think about the people in your lives, think about who's affected by this and why they're affected by this. Okay. All right, just about to wrap up. Okay, any ideas that we want to share in the chat? So we're talking about the issue of rising temperatures, how that affects you, how that affects your community, okay? And there are a few things that I think of, okay? All right, and these are really general, right? Ooh, there was someone put in the chat that one time I had a person pass out from heat stroke in front of me. Wow. Yeah, someone's birds can be, yeah, affected by heat. Absolutely. Uh-huh. Yeah, these are the people, the animals, the living things that are being affected by this heat, right? Now let's go one step further, okay? What is the reason of concern? Like what are these temperatures actually how are they impacting these people? All right? Because that's going to be really important to understand whenever you're creating a PSA is you need to make that connection of not just, hey, my friends are really affected. I can't go out in the summer. Why is that? Right? It's because one, it could affect your health, right? Yeah, you could get heat stroke, just like my friend in the chat. You also need to make sure you have a lot of drinking water and you need to make sure that drinking water is clean, right? It's really hot whenever you're playing sports outside in the summer. That's really hard to deal with. Yeah, somebody in the chat said there's heat related death. Absolutely. Yeah, animals outside having trouble. Someone says I haven't done exercise in the summer from heat. Right. It's hard even to be cooped up. So this is kind of what we need to highlight whenever we're talking about the PSA, not just that there's this issue, but that it's causing all of these things. All right. So now you have a topic, okay? And for your PSA, like this is kind of what I want to highlight. I really want to talk about how the environment is affected by this. And this is what the environment is, or this is how the environment is affected. Then you're going to look at other PSAs just to kind of get an idea of what that means. I'm going to share a few more examples. I'll send the links in the chat. So if you guys want, you can open up into another tab. And let me see. That way, if you guys want to listen to the audio, you can, and then I'll also turn on the closed captioning, okay? This is the first one that we're gonna look at. It's a heat safety PSA from a government. Okay, in California. All right, so that's a little bit different than maybe you guys, a little bit different take than what you guys would want, and we're going to talk about what that looks like. All right, so this is only about 30 seconds though, which is kind of a cool like length, and it fits right in the link that we're looking for. Okay, closed captionings are on. All right, that was it. Now we're gonna do a quick brainstorm break. I want you guys to think about the strengths and weaknesses of this one, okay? Ready, set, go, and then put them in the chat whenever you're ready. Okay, I think a friend in the chat was brilliant and told me that I needed to enable the audio to be shared, and I believe now it is fixed. So just let me know for the next one if you can actually hear it. Thank you for helping an older millennial with this. Appreciate it. All right, let's talk about, oh, cool, someone heard the timer. Great. Thanks, guys. Okay, so strengths and weaknesses. Yeah, more straightforward than the other video. That was great. Yeah, how do you not know about water? Ooh, okay. So Sigma view, I appreciate that. Okay. Strengths provided, concrete examples. Yep. Uh-huh. We'll talk about water in just a second, okay? Yeah, because water and heat honestly go together really, really well. Yeah, a lot of information for a really short time. I totally agree. I thought, it was really clear on what was expected. It was like, hey, this is an issue. Here's what you can do about it. You need to look out for your family. You need to look out for pets. It's just straight to the point. It also uses some cool images so that even though you may not be able to hear, or for people who may not be able to hear at all, or have different abilities, things like that. Visuals are really good at getting the message across too. A few weaknesses I thought was it was pretty bland. It could have been a little bit more engaging. A lot of government type videos are like this because they just need to go straight to the point. And they kind of have a really tight sandbox to play in, some very specific boundaries on how to act and things like that. Another thing too, the audience was kind of restricted only to adults. So it wasn't necessarily friendly to like you guys or elderly populations, that kind of thing. Someone said a weakness was it was not very engaging. It felt short. A few people are saying it could be more fun. Yeah, totally agree. All right, let's check out this one now. This one is neat because it's animated. Okay, I'm gonna tuck this guy away. And again, we'll do strengths and weaknesses after this, all right?
This is a public service announcement. I wish to address your persistent delusion that the Earth can be inspiring in any way. Science is not creative whatsoever. Isn't that right, assistant? Huh? Oh, yeah. Isn't that right, camera? Uh-huh. Here we have a representation of the hydrosphere. How anyone could find this inspiring is beyond me. This hollow mass of carbon is characteristic of the geosphere. As you can see, some of these rocks are colorful and shiny. Big deal. Camera, back to me. The worst of these delusions is your fixation upon the atmosphere. How can you be inspired by the atmosphere, I ask you? You can't even see it! Camera! Stop this foolishness! So as you can see, there is nothing inspiring about the Earth at all. I hope you've learned... Huh? What? What is this nonsense? Camera! I'm not finished talking! Stop this foolishness at once! Da 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 da.
All guys enjoyed that. Now that you have the audio, let's do some brainstorming. Oh, my bad. Here we go. I was trying to get the timer ready. Pop in the chat, strengths and weaknesses. Alrighty. Okay, so we've got several things of feedback in the chat. So a lot of people agree that it was really engaging and funny. They liked the quality of the animation, which was cool. There was some confusion about what the issue was, and I kind of agree. Oh, somebody said that they dislike that the tree is moving because trees don't move. Yeah, I get that. Yeah, it was more entertaining with the animations and didn't have much details. I thought the message could have been clearer. Right. So this video was specific to Earth Science Week, and I believe the message was supposed to be how cool Earth was supposed to be. But I also thought it was a little bit unclear, and that's kind of what I put here. So, we like the animation and the humor. It also showed some examples of some really earthy kind of things. I talked about the hydrosphere. But those types of vocabulary without necessarily defining them, or very, very clearly showing them can be really confusing. And there wasn't necessarily a reason why we watched it or like a call to action. That's kind of what a PSA is all about, is you just need to show, your message, and then at the very end, give people a reason why they watch this, and what they can do to actually address the problem. All right. And at the very beginning too, it says that science was not creative. That was kind of the whole thing. Like, oh, the earth isn't really like all that. But at the very end, it didn't really, it had a nice song, but it didn't necessarily give us any contrary evidence. And so that just left us kind of to try to figure things out on our own, right? I think I have someone that has a question. If you have a question, go ahead and unmute yourself. Or you can just type it in the chat, that's fine. Ooh, there's a question. With the tropical storm that's passing through Florida, help with the climate or what? So I'll answer this really quickly. So the climate is something that happens really, really long term. So it's over thousands and thousands of years. And it's really easy to confuse that with weather, which happens over days or weeks. And so right now, what we're experiencing with the tropical storm that's now a hurricane, that's actually technically weather. Now, that's because it really will only happen over a few days. But these storms happen every single year, and the pattern of them happening every single year and how strong they are does involve climate. And we do see a lot of evidence that the storms are getting stronger, quicker, and there may be more storms than normal in the future. Good question. All right, so let's vote. Which one got the most views? Pop it in the chat. First one in plastic pollution with the red guy, or guy in the red suit. Our government one or the trees one? Any ideas? All right, and we want to kind of know the views because the views give us an idea of how many people have seen this, right? And that means that we've made this video really effective, engaging, and our message reached a lot of people. So we've got a lot of votes for number 1, and a few votes for number 3. All right, drum roll, please. Da, 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 da. It's gonna be number 1. Okay. Now, these don't have millions of views, but there are some PSAs that there's one that I'm going to show you in a little bit that does have several million views. Um, and some of these are, for a reason. Let's talk about it. All right. Now, the first one won because it had a much it used information and language that reached a much bigger audience. It had a really clear message. It was funny and entertaining. This was a video that was put out in Palm Beach. And sometimes a lot of the videos will just stay local. This wasn't put out on social media or anything, and a lot of times things that are put out on social media tend to have a lot more viewers because everybody's on the same platform versus like if you just put it out, like if a government just puts it out on their website, it would depend on how many people go to their website, right? So that's just kind of something to think about if you were to share. Yeah, cool, cool, cool. All right, now we're in step 3, okay, stage 3 of making a PSA. That's doing some research, okay? This is where we're going to be getting our information. And this is really important because PSAs are meant to share facts, and facts are evidence-based. That means that they have to have something supporting them, all right? And that kind of comes from a lot of different places. So you can always Google, but Google gets a little bit dicey sometimes because some people can just put whatever up on the search engine. And also now that we have AI summaries, those aren't very reliable. That means that actually, especially with science, they're not very good at identifying what is correct information and what your questions are meaning to ask, So some of the answers are not actually correct.
Miss,
So, oh, any
I have a
questions?
question.
Yeah,
Yeah,
go
I
ahead.
had a question. Um,
Hmm.
where do we get our research from? Like, what source can we get it from? Because Google isn't really that reliable. Because it just gives
Right, yeah.
random stuff off topic.
Yep. Yeah, great question. So, the classic way is using textbooks, books, things like that, because typically it's a lot harder to print misinformation in books. But another thing that you can use is government websites. So there's a lot of science that come through the federal government, like the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. It's called NOAA, NOAA. They do a bunch of research on weather, including heat. Miami-Dade also has a really good website that has a bunch of information. You can also use college and university websites because they'll publish some of the things that their scientists found in ways that kind of understand. I don't expect you guys to go and read scientific journals because that's crazy, but some of them actually, oh, can you please? Thank you. Some of them actually, Nature is a really big scientific journal, but it's really good at sharing what discoveries their scientists made, but writing it in a really easy to understand way. Or you can look at other publications. They're like science magazines. One of them is Science News, another one is Live Science. All of those you can just Google, click onto their website, and then uh, you can type in heat. I will also share with you guys one website that I found from Miami-Dade County that has a bunch of graphs and things that you guys may want to use. But make sure whenever you're doing that to kind of put either on like actually a visual thing that was like, we pulled this from Miami-Dade County, put that either by the map or you can do that at the very end. You always want to make sure to refer to the source. All right. You
All
can't
right,
just be
thank you,
like, I
Miss.
made this map up myself.
Thank you, Miss.
Good question. All right. Now, this fourth stage, storyboarding, is going to take kind of the most time because this is whenever you're planning it. And I'm going to break it down into a checklist of what you need to do in order to kind of create this whole video. Okay. All right, here we've got, Can you guys? Yeah, thank you. Let's hold off on drawing, all right? So we've got 5 different things that you have to do in order to create a story for your PSA. That's what storyboarding is. It allows you to figure out where you're going to say the problem, where you're going to say the call to action, like what you want your video to show, right? Does anybody have any questions right now? We're good? I'm going to check the chat real quick. So we're going to go through each of these, okay? But first you need to develop a hook. You need to talk about your problem. You need to back it up with evidence, go through some possible solutions, and then create that call to action that people can do. Okay? All right, so let's talk about a hook. So a hook is something that is used in communication. A lot of journalists use this, and this is like what gets you excited about actually watching this video. You know, it's kind of like at the very beginning of a video, whenever people are like, ooh, get ready with me. Like once you hear like the get ready with me, then you're like, oh, I know what this video is. I want to watch it. Right? Hooks can be a lot of different things. This is probably your PSA is probably not going to be a get ready with me video, but you can add a few things. I'm going to give you examples of. The first one is you can use kind of like weird locations with the caveat that you're not going to go into dangerous places or weird places. Make sure that you are staying safe with this. But this is just a good example, this PSA here, of something that is really engaging where you're like, whoa, what's going on?
Yes. Oh, hi. I suppose you're wondering what an A-list celebrity like me is doing in a place like this. You must know, I'm saving the world. Oh, hi, Beth. Yep, saving the world again. Did you know that 40% of all the food produced in the United States is thrown away? That means everything that went into that food, the pesticides, the water, the land, was all for nothing. Just look at this perfectly good food thrown in the trash. The pizza with extra Cheerios, these goldfish and Band-Aid tacos. And just look at this perfect trash burger. This pasta dog looks delicious.
You don't have to dumpster dive like Ed Begley Jr. to save the planet. Fight food waste by shopping smart and using what you buy before it gets trashed.
That's way better. Ooh, arugula.
Do your part and find out other world-saving tips at betterthaned.org.
Thanks, Ed. Okay, so that video has actually gotten several million views. And you can see it was all about food waste, right? But immediately I was like, what is this guy doing in a garbage can? You know, I hope that you guys were also kind of like, what's going on? Somebody said, I don't like how he was showing bad food and saying it was good. I know, that was kind of weird, right? You know, using kind of, you know, weird things or things that aren't, that just don't like make sense, that they can be really engaging. He said something like a goldfish and Band-Aid taco. Gross. Yeah, that would be awful. But it points to the fact that we have a bunch of food that is thrown away every year, and that we need to be mindful of that, right? This is a really good way of getting that message across, and it immediately hooks you in, right? But again, make sure you don't put yourself in any dangerous spots. Okay, let's look at another way, another hook. Yeah, some people said, you know, you can use funny things. It was a new concept. Awesome. Yeah, good job. Here's another way of kind of hooking people in. So let's watch this one.
70% of the Earth is covered with water, but only 2.5% of that water can be used.
On average, every household uses 350 gallons of water per day.
The demand for fresh water is increasing by 64 billion cubic meters a year.
Annually, the average household uses 127,400 gallons of water per year. 782,250 billions of liters of water have been consumed this year alone, and this number continues to grow. Help the environment, conserve water.
Awesome. All right. So what do we think about that one? Some of y'all added some strengths and weaknesses before for the previous one. So thanks for that. It tells you the idea right away. So funny. Okay. Okay. It's a knee slapper. Thanks. Yes. Okay, I get the sarcasm now. Yeah, the music is good. It kind of like sets the tone. It doesn't just detract from the message. You see the water, right? But it wasn't super funny. The voice, somebody said, was very deep and boring. Yeah, that's why you want to be conversational. If I spent the entire workshop talking to you guys like this, you would just basically zone out and take a nap, right? And that's just not fun. But this was really strong. It had a really good hook because at the very beginning, if you saw, it showed that there was a lot of numbers that made sense to us, right? There were percentages or like how many gallons people used that we understood and may not know that this PSA presented really, really clearly. And if you notice too, it was very, very short. Like all of these facts weren't an entire paragraph. It was just like the number, the percentage, this many gallons that people use in a year. So it was really, really clear. Let's look at another example of a hook. This is just shows clips of the issue itself. Alrighty. That video is done by the EPA, or the Environmental Protection Agency, which is the agency for the federal government for the entire United States. They have a lot of research and information as well. So if you look up www.epa.gov and probably search for heat, they probably have a lot of information for that too. But what do we think about this PSA compared to other things? Beautiful. Good to spread awareness. Yeah, no voice. So there wasn't, or the voice made it a little bit boring. Yeah. But the images, yeah, a few of you said it caught your attention, right? Mm-hmm. Yep. All good. Great job, guys. So you can use a combination of visuals. You can use a combination of funny things, of facts. Here are a few other things. I want you guys to take 30 seconds really quick for another brainstorm break to come up with your own hook and put it into a chat for this specific PSA about heat. So think about what we just did, all right? And it doesn't have to be anything crazy, all right? But just take the next 30 seconds, add that in. I'm gonna also kind of mention a few more types. So you can use funny characters like that guy sitting in the garbage can, or it can be the student that was running around in his red suit. He was kind of really dynamic and interesting to watch. Maybe it's like a life hack video or you use specific music that's really catchy. The clip should show something that we understand again. And maybe it's like before and after, like you share something that's like you're sitting in the air conditioning versus like you sitting out in the sun. Everybody knows what it's like to sweat, right? And so using things like that are really successful hacks. All right, any questions? Any hooks that we have here? This one is kind of a hard thing to figure out. And so if you haven't brainstormed it in the next 30 seconds, that's totally fine. I'll talk about due dates in just a little bit, okay? Ooh, I would use suspense and provide heat acts on how they affect you. Yeah. It could be kind of maybe like a horror movie or something like that with like uh dark visuals and like kind of spooky music, and then at the very end it could be like, ooh, heat is gonna get ya. That would be kind of funny, actually. um yeah, getting stuck in a heat island in the city, then suddenly appear in a greener city. Ooh, that's kind of interesting. Yeah, make a live action show. Cool, cool. Awesome. This is great. All right. We're almost done, guys. We have about 10 minutes left, okay? All right. So the second part of the PSA that you have to talk about after you hook them in is you have to identify that problem. And you can see, you know, from these videos, it's very clear what is happening. They're super hot, right? We can already see based on this dog panting, this person probably having run a marathon or something, I don't know. You know, it's very clear, and it shows that they're kind of struggling, right? And this is really relatable. All right, let's pause in the chat, okay, guys? I know that you guys are sharing lots of stuff in the chat about what schools you're from, but let's pause so that we can shift back here. We're almost done, okay? All right, let's talk about the evidence, okay? Now, remember that guy that was talking about plastic pollution, and he said there were scientists project that there's gonna be more pollution than fish. So he actually said that statistic, that number of how much plastic is gonna be put into the ocean, and then he used a visual afterwards so that we can kind of understand that more. Whenever you're using facts like that, it's really important to understand that the facts support what you're saying. It can be like a cost. It can be an actual like money cost for maybe like how many people are going to the hospital because of heat related issues. It could be time. It could be the number of people affected. It could be the temperature change. I'm going to show you three different ways that are three different ways that you can use statistics or evidence and what you need to be careful about. One of the first things is this map right here, okay? It's kind of confusing right off the bat, right? This I actually pulled from Miami-Dade County, and it did have some more information around it that explained it, but I just wanted to show you guys, if you only pick one thing and don't really explain it, it's like, okay, why am I looking at this? I don't get it. There's these weird numbers, there's all these colors. So it's really important for you to actually point out and say one or two important facts about the visual that you have if you're using a map or a graph or something like that. So for this is actually showing in red. It's red to yellow, so yellow being the lowest and red being the highest. How many people are at risk to be hospitalized or go to the ER because of heat in Miami-Dade County? And you can see that there's a huge portion of like in Homestead and North Miami. Those are the people that are more at risk. So what I would say for this is I'd show the map, and then I would probably put either like arrows pointing towards the red parts and say people living in these red sections are more at risk to go to the hospital because of the heat. But that doesn't discount these yellow ones. You want to make sure that you are particular about that too. That doesn't mean that the yellow communities don't have people that are not going to the hospital. That just means they're less at risk. Okay, so just remember, yeah, one or two important facts, just like my friend underlines there. Okay. Here's another example of what you could do. You could use a graph like this, but there's a lot going on with this one too. Typically, whenever scientists present graphs, they explain what's happening on the x-axis, what's happening on the y-axis. Here, we're looking at the time and then temperature on the y-axis. And then this shows temperature across time, right? And you can see there's an upward trend, which means that it's getting warmer. So for this, what I would say is you can present this graph, but maybe even put like an arrow that's going up and then say Miami-Dade's average temperature is getting more than half a degree hotter each year. That means next year's summer is going to be about half a degree hotter. And then the year after that is going to be 1 degree hotter, more than 1 degree. You know, it adds up, that kind of thing. So remember, just 1 or 2 important facts, okay? Any questions about that? Because I know sometimes it's hard to figure out how to share information. We're feeling good? Cool. All right. The next step is talking about possible solutions. Okay. So at the very end of the PSA, you want to talk about solutions and a call to action, right? So what can we change to make this better? Or what can we do to deal with this problem? What will help? And will this help everybody? You know, some solutions may only help a few people, and so it may be good to add several solutions. So here are some that I kind of thought of. One of them is lowering carbon emissions, but some of that can be kind of hard to understand for the general public. Carbon emissions are really complicated. They're really scientific, and it's like, well, you know, a lot of businesses are doing this. Do I need to do this? Some people feel that they don't need to, you know, and so there may be other solutions that you think could be better, like using different construction materials that don't get as hot, or roads that reflect the sun. Maybe it's that everybody has a place to cool off. You know, because maybe not everybody has access to air conditioning, or they have to work outside. Maybe it's that everybody should have access to clean drinking water, and that we have to protect our drinking water in order for us to be able to cool off on hot days. Or you could add plants. Plants are actually kind of natural air conditioners, because the sun hits them, and then underneath that, they actually kind of cool things off. All right. We're gonna do one more brainstorm break, okay, before we finish this up. But I want you guys to think about what possible solutions you want to add to your PSA, and then we'll put them in the chat. All right. So this is the very last one, so make it the best one. All right, pop in the chat some ideas of possible solutions for taking on heat. Mitigating, that's a word that we use in the description, means that basically lessens the impact. It makes people more comfortable, makes everything more doable. Some people say adding a water cooling system, like Singapore. Singapore has a lot of plants, yeah, and they use water to kind of cool off, selling water or different drinks. Yep, more greenery. Yep. Changing heat absorbent colors. Ooh, to white or bright colors. That's kind of cool. That's a good idea. Yeah. So think about these solutions should help you figure out what the last stage of your PSA is going to be. And that's your call to action. Okay. And just like your solutions, these call to actions actually have to be able to be done. All right. They need to be feasible, which means they can't be like crazy. Like, can we solve world peace? Is this going to be a good call to action? No, it's not going to be a good call to action, because that is probably not going to happen, you know, in the length of time that it will take for your family experiencing heat. Like this heat is something that we deal with every year, and we want to make sure that these solutions are able to be done, you know, immediately, rather than just like waiting years and years and years. Oh, another idea was changing the asphalt that generates heat. That's, yeah, or collects heat. Yep. All right, what about this call to action? What Could you say that we could encourage people to bike to school rather than ride in a car? That lessens carbon emissions, which makes the carbon emissions make temperatures hotter. Is this good? Thumbs up? I think so. This would probably be a good call to action. But you're right. Someone typed in people can't have access to the bike. Yep. So what other options could we do? What about our drinking water, right? We've been talking about drinking water. It's really important to have drinking water to cool off on hot days. If you don't have water, you can't cool off. You can't stay hydrated. And that's important for humans and also people. And that means that we need clean drinking water. So maybe a call to action could be, if you see a business polluting, there's this complaint hotline that you can call that says, hey, this business is putting some stuff in the water that's not supposed to be in the water. What do we think? Is that one good? I think so. Another one could be sending a letter to a government official like your mayor, asking them to invest in cool pavements. Cool pavements are like sidewalks that have that reflective material, like someone was talking about, the lighter colors, so that they don't absorb everything. Yeah. So this one is also a good way of doing it. But you guys are like making really good points. That's not all of these everybody can do, right? You know, what if your school is too far to bike? What if I don't have a bike? Yeah, that's something that you can't do. What other things can you do? You know, clean drinking water. There's another article that I didn't put in here that was just published. Scientists figured out that bumblebees can't find flowers whenever it's hotter. They actually, whenever they're hotter, they become more stressed out and they aren't able to smell as well. So that's kind of an environmental thing. Maybe there's some sort of call to action there. This is the part that you guys need to figure out, okay? This is something that we want you to kind of think about. What can your community do to help this? Okay?
Miss, what about public transportation?
Yeah, public transportation, you know, if you shift from like individual cars, like let's say like even 10 people use public transportation versus their individual cars, that could possibly cut down on carbon emissions. You know, you could also make sure that you have an air conditioned ride to school or something like that. So that's a good idea.
All right,
But
thank
again,
you.
is public transportation accessible to everybody? Not necessarily. Miami-Dade is working on expanding that, but it's not going to be for everybody. So make sure you think about that for your call to actions, okay? All right, let me finish up a couple of these slides and then I'll take some questions, all right? Now, last stages of making a PSA, you need to actually film this thing, right? Film and edit it. So we don't expect you to have some crazy fancy camera. Using your phone is fine, or borrowing somebody's is fine. You can also animate it if you want, like take pictures and kind of cut them together. And then what I would recommend is these are 3 different softwares that are totally free that you can use to put together a video and edit it if you need to. Just remember that the video should be 45 minutes to 1 minute long. Remember, all the ones that we've seen before are pretty short, okay? And last but not least, you got to share this thing. We have to share a PSA with people so that we can get our message out. You can share this with your friends and family. We want to see these videos because we're going to share these videos with Miami-Dade County's Office of Sustainability. They're the ones helping make decisions on clean water, on construction, on you know, the cool pavements that we've talked about, on all of these different sustainable actions. So they want to hear your voice too. And you can also share them with your school as well. Just have your teachers help out with that. All right. Now it's question time. I know some of you, it's right about time for this PSA workshop to end. So if some of you cannot stay, that's totally fine. You can head out. But if you have any questions, I'm going to go ahead and take them, okay? Because I see I have a few hands raised. Thank you guys so much for taking an hour of your day to look at this with me. All right, who has the first question here? Felix, do you have a question? Anybody else?
I have a question.
Yes, go ahead, Alyssa.
Um, like how can we do our part to help with climate change and how to stay cool and not pass out when we're doing sports or whatever?
Right. Yeah. So think about what cools you off, you know? Water, obviously, right? Climate change is a big thing that's hard to tackle, like just by yourself, but maybe it's you
Okay,
as you helping your school like create a school garden
I have
because
a question.
that adds more plants, which cools the overall area down. It's one fix is not going to fix the entire earth, right? It's going to be us all doing small things. Okay. And so don't worry about having to fix this whole climate change situation, fix heat in general. We want you guys to think about the small things that you can do, and think about and share what heat is or how it is impacting your community. Okay. Somebody else has a question?
Yep.
Go ahead.
Oh, so what? I don't understand so much.
Okay. Yeah, so the good thing is you don't have to know everything, okay? Let me show you, let me see if I can share with you guys really quick here. Here, I'm gonna open up a website to show you guys. That's from Miami-Dade County, okay? And I'm going to put this in the chat here. It's called a story map. Story maps are basically big, almost like digital books of what's going on. And it can put a lot of maps and graphs and things all together. And this story map is specific to heat. Okay. So I'm going to put this in the meeting group chat. I'm sending it right now. If you guys want, you can click on it. And then I'll also share my screen so that I can show you what that looks like. Because this is a really good way of figuring out and getting all of those numbers. So this is all about understanding heat exposure in Miami-Dade County. And if you scroll down, it has a lot of things about climate change. Some communities are not as hot as others. Some are much more hot than others. It talks about heat and health. And it has some really cool things like this shows what the heat index looks like, what a heat index is, what you can do. Like this tells you what heat stroke is, that kind of thing. If you click under here, this has a map right here that will show you, sorry, there we go. All of these maps show you a few different things. This one is kind of how communities are decided. And then I pulled the map that I found from here. That's what this looks like. I just opened it in a different window. But this is the heat related illnesses that I was talking about right here. Okay, so if you're looking for numbers and graphs and things like that, I'd probably start here because this is a government website, so it has data that is evidence-based. It's supported by science. It has a lot of cool graphs and maps and things like that that you guys may want to use, okay?
Okay.
All right, what other questions do we have? Catalina, would you like to go next?
Do we have to use graphs as part of the video or only mention the data we find?
Because sometimes graphs like the one that I showed you about the temperature raising, that one is really good to show because it shows that there's science that's showing that temperature is getting hotter, right? But you do need to explain the graph. So you don't have to share graphs or maps or anything, but if you are going to, you need to explain what it's saying, okay? Just make sure you know that your information is coming from a reliable source that got it from some sort of scientific discovery, all right?
Thank you.
Samantha, what is your question?
Do we have to write like an entry or something along with the PSA?
No. So we are just looking for the video, and the video needs to be needs to explain everything that you would write out, okay? If you give us if you send in a video that we don't really know what's going on, then it's hard to call it a PSA, right? Because it needs to have a clear message. So you don't have to write anything out, but it needs to be really clear on what you're saying, on the issue that you're talking about, how it's affecting people, and that call to action at the end. Okay?
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions? I'm going to take a couple more questions. Fidel?
How long does the video have to be again? I forgot.
45 seconds to a minute.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Please? Is it please? Please? Water?
Yeah, that's me.
Question.
All right. So about the avoiding global whatever it is. What was it again? What
Are
was
you
it
talking
again?
about climate change?
No, like it was like in the middle of the presentation. I forgot what it was.
Let me see. I was trying to find it. Do you know what what you're gonna ask about it?
Oh no, I remember. So there's um, what if we don't have access to trees? Like
Access to what?
to trees, to plants, to get shade, or solar
Uh-huh.
panels, because solar panels are expensive.
Yeah.
And about the public system in downtown, we really can't do anything about it because bikes are like extra mega expensive, and we can't do anything about that. And cars are expensive too. So let's say I live like an hour away from my school. Do I just go walking and suffer the heat?
Right. All great points. Okay. That means that those call to actions don't work for you, right? So think about what you can do. Okay. If somebody has some sort of balcony, that's kind of an outdoor space where they could put plants, right? And plants, we know, already cool things down. A second thing that I can kind of think of is, you said that you kind of feel like you can't do anything about it. And what I want to tell you is that that's actually what the government is for. That's what we elect government officials to do, is to help us on issues like this. And so if you feel like that, one way a call to action would be is to actually let government officials know by emailing them, or they take feedback all the time, and if you have a lot of people saying, hey, I really want us to cool down and I don't see any action going on, then we need to tell our government officials about it. So what I would say is a call to action would be to contact a local representative, somebody in the government, and tell them that.
But cause I feel like I thought of that, but I feel like if people tell the government, I think they will do something about it. But you know how you just skip ads on YouTube, right?
Yeah.
I think people will do the same thing. Also,
Yeah.
what if our school isn't big enough for gardens and stuff like that?
So can you have plants inside?
No, because it's like considered a safety hazard.
Okay. All right. What another thing? So I'm going to give you one more example of maybe another call to action. And then after that, I want you to have a discussion with your teacher about what you could do because this is important. This discussion may take a little bit longer. What I would say is, sorry, I just lost my thought. I needed to come back to me. Oh yeah, what I would say is, right now we use a lot of energy to cool things down, right? And air conditioners are really important because they take the heat inside and put it outside, but that heats things up. And it also uses energy, which exacerbates climate change and makes it worse. So a call to action may be to just raise your thermostat on the air conditioning 1 or 2 degrees. That way you're using less energy and producing less carbon emissions. Okay.
Also, one last question: How can we take advantage of convection in this situation?
Well, I think I'm going to have you continue that discussion with your teacher, okay? Because I feel like you have a lot of questions, all right? And I want you to have those discussions with your fellow students as well, okay? I'm going to move on to some other people that have questions, all right? Since I want to be mindful of everybody's time, okay? But ask your teacher and see if you can discuss with them.
All right.
All right. Just a couple more people. Anybody else? Maria, I see you have your hand raised. Yes, Liz.
I was just sorry. What is your name? What is your name? Because
yeah, my name is Jonna, so I'm gonna put my name in the chat so that you guys can see. All of your teachers know who I am. So if you have any questions for me, they can reach out to me. All right, but I'm Jonna. I'm the Fairchild Challenge Program Manager, and I run the challenge. All right, Maria, I think I cut you off. Let's do one last question, and then we'll wrap it up, okay? And whatever questions y'all have, you can let your teachers know, and they'll reach out to me, all right?
Okay, thank you. I was just wondering if the video has to be animated or do we have to be on screen? I was wondering if we could do like a voiceover.
Sure. You do not have to be on the screen. That's a great question. It can be animated, or you can just use the visuals that we talked about, like graphs or maps, or even like the video of a dog panting. Like all of that is acceptable. Okay. So you don't necessarily have to put your face on the screen. I know that's not everybody's a fan of that, and that's totally fine. All right.
Okay, thank you.
All right, I'm going to wrap this up. Thank you guys so much for spending some time with me tonight. Again, if you have any questions, let your teachers know tomorrow in class, and they will email me, and I will get back to you on some questions. But some of these questions that y'all have, discuss with your friends, discuss with your family, discuss with the people in your community, because I may not have all of the answers, and they may have answers. Okay, but continue doing this. Good luck, guys. On putting these together. These are due in about a month. And so we're really excited to see the videos. Good luck with everything. You guys are going to do great. Just do your best. And have a good time putting these together. All right. All right. Have a good evening, guys. Bye, everybody.
thanks. Bye. Thanks.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye, guys.
Bye. Thank you. Bye.